Hello and welcome to this brief presentation on the topic of default optimism. So what do we mean by default optimism? Default means a pre-selected option, and optimism means a tendency to expect the best in all possible circumstances. So why should you be interested in this idea of optimism? Well, research indicates the following. Research indicates that optimists live longer than pessimists. So it would be of great benefit to all of us to be more optimistic because they'll end up living longer. Ask yourself the question, do you consider yourself to be a pessimist or an optimist? Which is it? You think about it, if the pessimist is going to work in the morning and they're waiting for a bus and then they miss the bus that they're meant to get on, they might think, oh, their whole day is ruined and their boss is going to give them grief. Where the optimist might just think, well, I'll probably still be on time and maybe I'll even get a seat on the bus that's going to follow. So it's just a different way of looking at things, whether you're going to be optimistic or pessimistic. And if you want to move from being a pessimistic to an optimist, it's possible to do. But let's just look at some other benefits that can accrue to you from being more optimistic, especially in the workplace. So one of the benefits would be you'll end up being more productive. You'll simply get more things done because you'll be more positive and more energetic in the workplace, being able to deal with problems that arise. The second thing is that if you're more optimistic, you're going to be less stressed because you're going to have a greater suite of coping mechanisms to deal with difficulties that arise. And thirdly, you're going to be more resilient. That means you're going to be able to bounce back when things go wrong. So now I just want to talk about this business about default optimism. And it's very much a simple concept. It's actually simple to learn, but it's difficult to master. And let's just talk about what this whole thing actually means. So default optimism is an automatic response. An automatic response. And what is it an automatic response to? It's an automatic response to a negative event or negative events. So we put down there negative events or a negative event. So when a negative event occurs, you need to have an automatic response. And the automatic response I'm suggesting is you ask a very simple question. And that question is, what positive can result from the negative event? So, every time you're faced with a negative event or events, you need to have an automatic response. What positive can result from the negative event? As I said, this is simple to understand, but difficult to master. So what we'll do is we'll just run through a few examples of negative events that kind of happen in the workplace and see how you might react to them by being optimistic as opposed to pessimistic and fatalistic about things. So let's just say you are fired at work. That's a pretty negative event. Can there be any upside to that? Well, you could think about it. You may think, well, hold on a minute, I got fired, so what? I'm going to get a new job, and maybe get a new job with greater pay, people who will be more respectful of me, and better working conditions. Maybe as a result of getting fired, you might start your own business. And therefore now you become the competition to the people who sacked you. You're even going to get retribution. Fantastic. Another option that you could look at from a default part or default optimistic point of view, you could upskill and change career. So do something completely different and maybe do it with greater zest and energy because it's all new to you. So that would be 3 great upsides to getting fired, if you were to look at it that way. And that means that the negative event of getting fired, you have an automatic response. You keep looking for the positives that can come of the negative event. Let's have a look at another one. What about a performance target that you miss at work? So a performance target missed can be a very stressful thing when this happens to you. Can be embarrassing, can be difficult, but maybe you could look at it from a different, more positive perspective. Maybe you could see it as a learning opportunity, and you'll be able to achieve the target next time round because you learn from your mistakes at this particular juncture. How about taking the time out to evaluate if the target was realistic? And if it wasn't realistic, you could communicate that to the person who set that target, or if it's yourself setting them, maybe you could be a little bit more realistic next time round. Another option for you, if you miss a performance target, maybe you could take the time to identify areas that were outside your control. Maybe there's some factor that impeded your ability to achieve the target that you had absolutely no impact upon. So if you identify that, it becomes an explanation as to why you missed the performance target. Let's take another negative event. What about you make a major mistake at work? Now, this could also cause a lot of stress and a lot of difficulties for you. But what could you do? What is the positive that can result from the negative event? Well, a bit like we talked about before, you could learn from it. So it's a learning opportunity, so it doesn't reoccur, and that will be really important because you'll be focused now, so you're not going to allow it to occur again. So don't allow a repeat of the mistake. So you'll be very consciously aware that if similar circumstances arise again, you won't make that same mistake again. And maybe you made a major mistake because there was some kind of shortfall in your skill set. So maybe you could identify a skills gap, some type of skill that you're deficient in that led to this mistake being made. You didn't have enough experience, you didn't have enough knowledge of a particular area, and it resulted in you making a mistake. If that's the case, you can rectify it. So these are ways that you can use default optimism to make your working life easier. If you would like to review more free learning content, you can have a look at my website, michaellukecollins.com. Hope you found this beneficial, and thank you for watching.